All right, so today we're on a quest. It's kind of like a treasure hunt, We're tracing the early years of, well, I bet you can guess, Bill Gates.
Yeah, before Microsoft even. We're going way back.
Using his own memoir, no less. Like a window into his, his younger self.
Right, trying to see, those early signs, those hints of the future, the tech titan he becomes.
So picture this. 1972, young Bill, on the edge of adulthood, right? He's got these big, massive life decisions ahead. College, and get this already, a budding computer career. It's wild.
Yeah, this isn't, a kid in his garage tinkering. This is serious stuff.
Skipping school to write code for businesses.
Right, already diving in head first.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. We've got college application essays, and he's talking about like law and business, but then we also see these stories of him skipping class to work on, like payroll systems, traffic counters even. What's the story here?
Well, it's fascinating, right? On the one hand, you see these diverse interests, but then this undeniable talent and dedication to programming.
You can't deny it.
He's involved with C-Cubed, this company that, they cleverly utilized unused computer time, super smart. And then there's ISI. He wrote code for traffic analysis there.
So real-world stuff already.
Exactly. Real-world impact. Even as a teenager, he's got this entrepreneurial spirit. Like he sees these problems and he thinks, okay, technology can solve this. It's amazing.
So not just a whiz kid, but a visionary almost.
Yeah.
But even with this passion, the college apps show, some uncertainty. He gets into Harvard, Yale, Princeton. Did he always know deep down that tech was his path?
What strikes me is how much he wrestled with this decision. He's telling colleges he's into law, business, government. Like, he's testing the waters, exploring.
So even while excelling in computer science?
Yeah, it's almost like he had to prove to himself that he could succeed outside of tech before, really going all in.
Wow, that's some serious self-awareness for a teenager.
Right.
But wait, there's more. Acting, too. He even lands the lead role in this play, black comedy.
It seems like this need to explore, to push boundaries, it went beyond just academics. He wasn't content with just being, the computer guy.
He wanted more.
Exactly.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, let's talk about this summer job he lands. Bonneville Power Administration. This wasn't your typical summer gig, right?
No, not at all. This was a real taste of the professional world. Bill and his friend Paul Allen, they helped computerize power generation.
Hold on, teenagers working with seasoned engineers?
Yeah, contributing to, critical infrastructure. Talk about a formative experience. That's got to shape you, right?
And that's where we hit this major turning point, right? He meets this programmer, John Norton, and, Norton just rips apart Bill's code, no mercy.
Oh, yeah, this was a real wake-up call for young Bill. Challenged that youthful arrogance, and I think instilled a drive for meticulous coding, a quality that would later become, synonymous with Microsoft, wouldn't it?
But, wasn't it risky for Bill to choose Harvard over a sure thing at DEC?
Mm-hmm.
Was it pure ambition? Or did he doubt his ability to make it in tech without, a formal education?
The TRW engineers, they were practically begging him to skip college to join DEC, a leading computer company at the time. They saw his potential, knew he could thrive in that fast-paced world.
Talk about a choice.
It was. And it says something about Bill's, self-assurance that he even considered skipping college. But then there was also this pull towards academia. He even thought about, skipping straight to grad school.
Really?
Yeah, although, his parents weren't too thrilled about that idea. And then there's this fascination with pure mathematics, exploring the theoretical side of computer science.
Because so many paths.
It's like he's being pulled in all these different directions. The allure of a fast-track career, the intellectual challenge of academia, and then this draw towards the theoretical side of math. How do you even choose?
Okay, so we've got this picture emerging. Young Bill, brilliant coder, yeah, maybe a little arrogant, but definitely driven, curious.
Yeah.
And facing these huge life choices, it's like he's not just into the tech stuff, he's already thinking ahead strategically, weighing those options.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important to remember, the context. This is the early 70s.
Right.
The tech industry, it was just getting started. The idea of personal computers, software as we know it, it was all just emerging.
Pretty crazy to think about.
Bill was right there at the forefront of this whole revolution, but even he couldn't have fully grasp the scale of what was coming.
Mind-boggling. Here he is, wrestling with these decisions, and the whole future of technology is kind of hanging in the balance. So let's dig into this crossroads he's at. What were the specific options he was juggling?
Well, as we mentioned, those TRW engineers, they were practically begging him to skip college, to join DEC.
Right.
Which, was a leading computer company at the time. They saw his raw talent. They knew he could make it in that fast-paced environment.
I mean, that must have been tempting to just dive in, headfirst into professional programming.
Yeah.
With people who saw his potential. It's a pretty compelling path.
It was, and it speaks volumes about his self-assurance, that he even entertained the idea of skipping college altogether. But there was another factor here, this fascination with pure mathematics.
This is where things get really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because it shows us a side of Bill Gates that we don't often hear about. This drive to explore the theoretical side of things, the intellectual pursuit of knowledge just for the sake of it. It almost seems at odds with that practical, business-oriented side of him.
Well, absolutely. I mean, he was clearly driven by a desire to make a real-world impact, to create something useful, valuable. But there was also this deep intellectual curiosity, this need to understand the fundamental principles behind the technology.
It makes you wonder, was that John Norton experience, the one where his code got ripped apart, did that maybe fuel this interest in the theoretical side of things? Like, he wanted to understand the why behind the how,
That's a great point. It's very possible that Norton's critique pushed him to not just be a good programmer, but to really understand those deeper principles, the mathematical foundations that would allow him to write, truly exceptional code.
So it wasn't just about building things. It was about understanding the very building blocks of the digital world. But let's not forget about Paul Allen. I mean, their relationship, it seems like it was both a source of support and tension during this time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. While Bill's, navigating these big life decisions, he's also working with Paul on the Lakeside scheduling project and their Trafo data venture. I mean, their collaboration, even that brief falling out they had, it really highlights the complexities of partnership, especially when you have two, brilliant minds with strong personalities.
It's easy to romanticize that idea, like these tech geniuses working together seamlessly.
Yeah.
But the reality is it's a lot messier than that.
Right. They challenged each other, pushed each other's buttons, and then ultimately, learned from each other's strengths and weaknesses.
I think their dynamic is a fascinating glimpse into what would become a hallmark of Bill's leadership style at Microsoft. I mean, surrounding himself with talented people, even those who might disagree with him, to foster innovation and to challenge his own thinking. So we have this complex portrait of Bill Gates on the verge of adulthood, wrestling with his future, trying to balance these passions for coding, business, even pure mathematics. He's learning these valuable lessons about humility, about quality, about collaboration. But there's still this lingering question: why Harvard?
It's the $1,000,000 question, right? Why choose the traditional academic path when you're already on this fast track to success in the tech world? Was it a need to prove himself in a different arena? Maybe he needed that solid foundation before taking the plunge, or was it something else entirely? Let's explore this further in the final part of our deep dive.
So Harvard. It's the big question, isn't it? Why? I mean, we're talking about Bill Gates here, a guy who was already, making a name for himself in tech. Why not just skip the whole college thing altogether? Just dive right in.
It's a question that I think keeps a lot of people up at night. And I think the answer, well, it's about understanding Bill Gates, not just as this tech prodigy, but as a young man figuring things out.
Right, dealing with ambitions, uncertainties, the whole human thing.
Exactly. We tend to think of him as this almost mythical figure, but he was a real person making real choices, just like just like all of us.
Making those tough calls.
Right. And those choices, they weren't always, crystal clear. He had this passion for computers, obviously, but also this deep intellectual curiosity, this desire to explore other fields, to test himself. And Harvard, it represented a challenge. It was an opportunity, to prove himself in a different arena, in an academic setting. Could he excel outside of the world of technology?
So it wasn't just about soaking up knowledge. It was about proving something. to himself.
Yeah.
Like he needed that validation before tackling the tech world.
That's an interesting way to put it. And it makes sense when you consider his personality. I mean, Bill was known for being competitive, driven.
He wanted to be the best.
Yeah, to be the best. So maybe Harvard was a way for him to measure himself, against some of the brightest minds in the country, to see where he stacked up intellectually.
But there's also the practical side of things, right? Mm-hmm. A degree from Harvard, it carries a certain weight, prestige. That could be valuable in any field, really, even in those early days of the tech industry.
Absolutely. And it's worth noting that Bill didn't completely abandon his entrepreneurial side while he was at Harvard. He was still, tinkering, working on projects with Paul Allen, exploring new ideas.
Testing the waters.
Exactly. He was like a man on a mission, driven, ambitious, and maybe a little impatient to make his mark on the world.
That restlessness, that drive, it's a big part of who he is, isn't it?
It is. He wasn't content to just, sit back and learn. He wanted to create, to build, to innovate. And Harvard, despite being, a very traditional academic institution, it gave him the space, the resources to let those ambitions flourish.
So Harvard was kind of like both a proving ground and a launching pad. It let him hone those skills, test those ideas, and build that network, those connections that would be so crucial later on.
Exactly. And it's amazing to see how those early experiences, those lessons, those relationships, they really shaped his approach to building, Microsoft into what it became.
It's like we've uncovered this hidden chapter in the Bill Gates story, one that shows us not just the genius, but the human side, the struggles, the determination to make his own way.
And that's what makes this whole deep dive so compelling. It reminds us that even the most, iconic figures, they all started somewhere, grappling with uncertainty, making choices, and ultimately shaping their own destiny.
It's a story that we can all relate to, right? Yeah. We all have those crossroads, those moments of doubt. But Bill Gates' journey, it shows us that even the most ambitious dreams, well, they can be achieved. It takes talent, hard work, and maybe a little bit of luck along the way.
And as you continue to follow Bill Gates' incredible story, I want you to keep this in mind. Look beyond the headlines, the successes, and think about those formative experiences, the ones that shaped his worldview and led him to where he is today.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Bill Gates' pre-Microsoft years, I'm left with this one question. Would any of us, knowing what we know now, would we have made the same choices as teenage Bill? Would we have taken those risks, pursued our passions with that same relentless energy?
It's a question worth asking yourself, isn't it? It reminds us that success, it's not just about talent or being in the right place at the right time. It's about the choices we make, the risks we take, and believing in ourselves, in our